Welcome to All Star Quilts. I'm Eleanor Burns. I've had a great time sharing quilts made by my block party students. You know, the funny thing is, I never showed them the finished quilt before they got started. It was a mystery to them. Well, I grouped some impressive students' quilts by holidays. Well, this quilt has 4th of July written all over it. Just stand and salute Nancy Sandeville's patriotic rendition of the Feathered Star, appropriately named Oh My Stars. She used red, white, and blue in a creative way to just achieve her star-spangled effect. I love the old-fashioned background print and pure white surrounding the blocks. It's a very fresh country look. Kathy Marsh did the long arm quilting, adding a bit of country charm to the quilt, and the backing is cute blue with white polka dots. The quilting's wonderful. It's enough to strike up the band. Well, it's Christmas time with Rose Rhodes' quilt, Wish Upon a Star. Forest green points frame the moss green triangles, all wrapped around a Santa Claus red. Now the background with little red flowers, there may be poinsettias, you know, just complete the scene. Mildred Young did the long arm quilting, adding traditional ribbon candy in the framing border and festive feathers all around. It's a holiday delight. And the quilting on the back is just beautiful. It really stands out on the single colored background. You can really see this. You could flip it and use this side. Beautiful. Well, this bright quilt, pieced and quilted by Marilyn Belt, reminds me of Easter and a springtime garden. There are colorful daisies and little butterflies flirting about. Well, Marilyn's use of the fresh light green for the background is unique. It shows off her vibrant purple feathered star in the very center. She did triangle feathers in the squares and a single triangle feather in the triangles. You can also see the stitch in the ditch around the stars. And this design even looks like an ocean wave, but it still has that Easter feeling. Quiet, the bunnies are busy. Well, we better get busy too. We have a new star to do. Can you believe we're on our outside stars already? We've completed stars for celebrities Mary Ann Fawns and Alex Anderson for the triangles surrounding the feathered star. And then we did 24 Nancy Zeman stars and sewed them together into the rows for the outside border. Now, we still need to do stars for the ends of the rows. Today we're saluting Mark Lipinski for his contributions to the quilting world. So this star is called Mark's Star, with fussy cuts in the center, surrounded by points and triangles. Just beautiful. This quilt is brown for a reason. It's called Special Delivery, designed and made by Sue Bouchard and quilted by Amy Potter. I was into my 4th webinar and still the quilt was missing. We were sitting in class, the door flew open, and in came a delivery man dressed in official brown uniform. Well, it was impossible to hide his identity. It was Mark Lipinski. He brought my missing quilt back. Yes! So now we're making a beautiful one in these colors, and has the fussy cut right in the middle, triangles around it, points around here. And I'm going to start with the fussy cut right in the middle. It is an odd measurement. So I use my 6-inch square up ruler, put glow line tape, sectioning off 2 5/8 inches. 2 5/8 inches. You just have to do that so it works out together. These blocks will be a perfect 9 inches when you're done. So find the center right about there. I see the little rose and the wisteria, making sure that I have a 1/4 inch around the outside edges. Let me move it around a little bit. Okay, perfect. So just take your cutter, cut up 2 sides, and then turn the 2 sides you cut to the opposite corner. Now line up 2 5/8 on the glow line tape, and just cut off those last 2 sides, and we've got it. We're ready to go. Now, to make it the whole process easy, I'm going to just take and fold this in 4. I just like to take my fingernail, give a little crease on it, and then go the other way and do the same thing. I already have this one all creased and ready. Now, the side triangles come from 3-inch squares, and you just take and line up your diagonal line along the outside edge, cut them in half on one diagonal, and then you just take and you fold and crease again. These are just match points. And you can do this at the iron, or you can just do it with your fingernail, whatever you want. But I do have these that I pressed already on my iron. So we're just going to sew these around the outside edge. 4 of them, pretty easy. It is critical that you do match up these points. So just take and flip 1 right sides together, line up the center folds, and you have pretty big tips hanging out on both sides. They are equal. They should be equal, especially if you line up the ruler. So not only did Mark bring me my missing quilt, but he brought me coffee, my favorite coffee, dark chocolate, was he trying to win my heart, and a shirt from our alma mater. It is Edinburgh University in Pennsylvania. Shared that university together. Of course, I didn't know them then, though. Okay, now go ahead and do the same thing. Line up those folds. Big tips hanging out on both sides. We're going to have plenty of room to square this up. Okay, and then once you do the 2 sides, just go ahead and set the seams and press them open. It's so much better if you can press. Oh, I sewed a little bit of that tip in there. That is interesting. Well, we'll see if we can still finish it. Okay, press it out like that on one side, and then on the other side. Very interesting on the corners. I think I did that just to show you I don't do everything perfect, huh? An outtake, but don't worry, we'll get it off. See, I folded it under and got it. Be careful when you do that. Okay, now take your ruler, line it up on that edge, keep it straight, trim these 2 sides, turn it around, and do the last 2 sides. I like to use a straight line on my ruler, lining up with my block. Okay, got these cute little tips. Get rid of them. And then we just have 2 more sides left. Again, line up the folds right in the center so that you are going to be able to square this up perfectly. And just press, line up your edge, your 1/4 inch, and sew down one side and then the other. The first time I met Mark Lipinski, it was like a breath of fresh air, or more like wind that came into my booth. He came running in telling me that he had watched my television show and he'd learned how to quilt. He said that he was a television producer, and when he read my credits, he couldn't believe that there were just a few people on the set. And he called up all his friends and said, "You got to watch this show." So everybody learned how to quilt with Mark. So now he's doing his own patterns, doing his own television series on the web. Okay, let's press this open. Looking good, very cute. Right in the center. That little tip didn't matter at all, huh? Okay, so now that we have this block done, take a 3.5-inch fussy cut ruler. It's got an X right down through the middle, and it's got 1/4-inch lines around. But actually, I think we are going to be able to float this. Okay, there's little lines right here that are just going to go right onto those seams, get those lined up. It does help if you have Invisigrip on the back so you don't slide. Okay, and then just trim 2 sides, and then carefully turn your mat so the ruler doesn't slide, and then 2 sides to go, and that is it. Beautiful fussy cut for the center. Now I'm going to go on and show you the points. When Mark was at my webinar, he recited this quote to my students: "Buy the dream, feed the spirit, as there is no problem in life that can't be cured with an hour by your sewing machine." That is so true. I just love to sew. It's such a stress reducer for me. Hope it is for you too. I want to show you the next step in Mark's star. We did the fussy cut in the center. Now we're going to work on the points. And you have to remember there are inside points and outside points. The inside points are right next to the fussy cut, and they are this pink color, and then the peacock are the outside points. So I have 2 3-inch squares, the peacock and the pink. You want to flip them right sides together and keep the pink on the top, or the inside points. And just take a marker and a ruler, draw a diagonal line corner to corner. Now this is a tricky block, and the more accurate you are all along the way, you'll be really happy in the end. So it's a lot of fun, and it's a bit of challenge. Okay, so I did put a jumper scrap in. You can do whatever you want, but just get started. And you want your foot, there's a bar on my foot. You want that bar to go right along the line, and then the stitching is 1/4 inch away. So then when you get done with one side of it, you just take it, turn it, put your bar back on that center line, and you're stitching again 1/4 inch away. This is a pretty easy start, but you know how it is. You got to be good the whole time. So you're actually going to make one of these for every star. So now we've got our stitching. It should be 1/2 inch away. Next step is to take your ruler and cut the opposite way. I always like to cut the opposite way first, just in case it gets separated. You do have a line to cut the second part. So do one line, one cut this way, and then turn and go back and cut on your line. All right, we're good. So now we've got all these pieces, and we are going to just drop it on the pressing mat with your inside points on the top. So just drop it quick, set the seam, open and press the seam towards the inside point. So one of these is going to be enough to do your one whole star too. So just get that going. Always the inside. Press toward the inside star. You'll remember this. Okay, stack them up. Next step is to take a 4.5 inch square. In the background, the 4.5 inch square is going to be this part right here of your block. It's going to be flying geese. Flying geese, honk, honk. I love flying geese, but this is a little bit different approach to flying geese. So cut on one diagonal, cut on the second diagonal. You will have 4 of these to sew together, and I'm just going to work on one. Take one of these pieces right here and place them so that you have, it looks just like this. You're going to have the, okay, let me turn this around. There we go. So the geese, if the point's pointing towards your body, outside point at the top, inside point at the bottom. When you flip it right sides together, you don't have to let any tips hang out at the top. You line that up exactly at the top, but there's a long tip at the bottom. Remember this. This is getting tricky. But there's always points to line up and match. Okay, so right down along there. You know, when Mark was with us, he was so funny. We never knew what was going to happen next. He had all these tricks up his sleeve that his whole thing is just to have you laughing, be happy, good for your health, but teach you something at the same time. That's kind of my philosophy too. Keep you interested. Okay, again, set the seam with those points and turn it over so that the light is on the top. Open and press toward the light geese. Looking good. And right there at the bottom is that long tip that's hanging out. I told you that's in the inside point. Use your ruler, line it up straight on a seam, and just cut that off. Okay, we're nearly there. So now we've got this side. Let's just turn it around, and we can go ahead and put the next one. It's going to be like that, exactly like that. Flip it right sides together, line up at the top, and you've got that tip hanging out at the bottom. So it's the same on both sides, You know, Mark and I did do a Quilt of Valor fundraiser with Mary Ann Fawns one year. We had great fun. Now, the idea was that we were to teach a new person how to make a quilt. And we were going along great, and all of a sudden, looked like Mark was going to win the race. So you guessed it, my partner and I, boy, we stepped it up, and I think we finished just about the same time. Okay, now again, I want to press towards the light. So I put the light on top. I'm just going to open and press in toward the light. So when you look at it, looks like that on the back side. This on the front side. It's perfect. So now we're going to square it up. We're going to square it up with our geese ruler. I'm using our 3x6 geese ruler. I'm using the red part, the red lines that say 1.5 inch by 3 inch finished geese. And just put the red lines on the white. Ooh, that is looking good. That looks great. Okay, now, the tricky thing is you want to have the red lines on that white seam. Right here I see the point is going right out to the point on the ruler. But right here, it's not exactly on there. And this is the best word that I can say to you. Just tweak it. I'm just manipulating it just slightly so I can get that point lined up. All right, so oops, I lost my tweak. Okay, tweak it. Looking good. You know, you can manage to just tweak about anything on your quilting. Okay, I'm trimming on two sides. I did across the top and the side. Now I'm just going to tip up my ruler, turn my patch, and now put it back down again. Make sure that you're following the white lines along here. The points go right out to there. Tweak that corner if you must. Get it all lined up. This is what I told my sister Patty. She said, "Elle, I had trouble with that block." I said, "Just tweak it." Okay, now go up and across. And that's it. That is perfect. Well, let me get this little thing that's hanging off right here. And these are exactly the points that you want to have. You have a 1/4 inch seam there. You go right out to the corner there, right out to the corner there. Perfect. So I have 3 more that I have to make, and I'll show you how to sew the block together. The original name for Mark's star is Missouri Star, given by Nancy Cabot. Nancy Cabot was a pen name for Loretta Littner Rising for the Chicago Tribune in 1933. Can you believe that? Well, the state of Missouri is the show me state. So I'm going to show you how to finish this block. You know, the best thing is that it has locking seams. That's really great. Now this is the seam right here that you have to lock. And when you look at the back side, this seam is pressed toward the background. And then this seam right here on the opposite side on the fussy cut is pressed away from the background. So that's what's so cool about it. Whenever you flip this right sides together, then the thing that you have to do is just sink this top triangle, sink the top triangle right into the bottom triangle. If you can see that. Sink it in there and just hold it tight with the stiletto and it should match. So I just want to sew this vertical row for you because once you get that technique, all of the seams are done exactly the same way. So let's just get it started. On this unit, all you have to do is match outside edges. These are the easy ones. The corners are the easy ones. Get that going. Okay, now let me just pick this, and just before I go, I'm going to roll it back, sink those little triangles into place, and then we'll see how good it is. Now, I've done this with pins too, and sometimes pins distort. I am really wild about locking seams, and everything that I do, I try to have a locking seam for you, and then it goes better. Okay, just match up that outside edge, and then we just have that bottom one right here. Let's just assembly line sew that right on behind, and we'll take a look and see how good we are on the Missouri Star. So this is lined up here, no problem. Got your 1/4 inch seam. Let's open it up. Ooh, that is looking good. You can look as close as you want because that was just sunk right into each other. Perfect. And then this one, you're going to have that 1/4 inch seam across. So just finish the other 3 seams like that and you'll be great. So I have all 4 marked stars done, plus I have the 4 borders of Nancy's stars, 6 stars in a row, and then they have the side triangles on there in the large scale print of the pink and the background on the opposite side. So now I want to attach marked star to the ends of just the top and the bottom. And you can see it over here. I kind of laid out a corner so you get a good visual. You add your side borders first, and then the star, marked star, is on the end of just the top and the bottom. And you can see how that pink goes around the corner, and then the white goes around the corner. Now those triangles come from 6-inch squares. You need to have 2 large scale prints, that's the pink, and 6 of the background. So just go ahead and take those and cut them on one diagonal. So the straight of the grain is on the outside edge. Okay, and this is how it's going to be, like this, and just place them. I already pressed a fold in. It's really important if you can press a fold in the center of the blocks and then in the center of the triangles. And when it's laid like this, you're going to just take and put 2 triangles in the background opposite each other. And match up that centerpiece, flip them right sides together, and then trim off those tips. And then the last step is to put these on the opposite corners, and you're going to have the pink that goes right around the corner, starts up the side like this, and you'll see it's just going to continue up the side. So you see how it's going to go? After you get those triangles added on, I'm just going to take this one. Remember, we squared up the star borders to 9 inches. So you need to do exactly the same thing. Take a 9.5-inch square up ruler, put 4.5 at each one of these points. Make sure you have 1/4 inch. You need 9 inches on the other side, so let me just tweak that a little bit. Don't want to cut it too short, so you're just going to cut up and around. That's 2 sides, and then just turn your patch. Got things hanging on everywhere. Now put 9 inches right here along the 2 sides, 9 inches, and see if you still have those 1/4 inches. I do. I am so lucky. So you're just going to trim these last two sides. And then whenever you put this block right in here, then you are going to need to do just a little pinning so this lines up perfectly. Great. You know, Mark was so much fun. I hope you have fun with Mark's star.